Adam Amin joins us now. He'll be calling Eagles Patriots. That is Sunday, and that's with Jack Del Rio and Sal Paolantonio, who we had on earlier today. He had some interesting things to say. Adam, welcome back. How are you?
Doing great, boys. Good to talk to you guys.
Yes, man. And last time we talked, the Eagles were getting ready for the Bears. I'd like to get your perspective on what you saw from the Eagles that day. Anything impressive that stood out, or were you kind of like, wow, they were lucky to get out of here with a win?
You know, I was a little bit worried when I saw the offense sputtering a little bit. You know, and I'm sure a lot of Eagles fans were thinking the same thing. Going empty on consecutive drives late in games against a defense like the Bears that can keep you in a game, I'm sure had a lot of fans a little bit nervous. But with all that being said, I still feel like I walked away feeling better about this secondary, which I know was a concern with all the shuffling. I think the secondary played well. I thought Avonte Maddox was very solid in space. I think there's a lot of positives here. And I know this stretch of the schedule in particular gets tough. I understand that. But I feel like there's a little bit of optimism, especially considering how up and down the rest of the division has been, right? But that's, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that's the NFC East. That's life in this division.
Yeah, well, the optimism might have been there at a higher level, except for today, the news that Alshon Jeffrey not going to play, Nigel Bradham's still out. They had to sign Jay Ajayi today. He might get a carry. You might want to do some more research on Ajayi on what he's done recently because he hasn't played in 13 months. But the injury bug seems to just follow the Eagles all right when they feel like they're getting healthy, man. It follows them back around. So it seems like their offense is going to be even more limited than the one you saw against the Bears.
What worries me, too, is the lack of Deshaun, right? I mean, and, you know, I love to see him get involved right away in that game against Chicago. I think, first pass from Wentz might have been right to Deshaun Jackson. And I just felt like, all right, this is going to be something that they try to concentrate on, and then all of a sudden he's out. And to now lose your deep threat, which look what Zach Ertz can do when there's a little bit of space. You know, I just feel like he's as good of a post runner as there is from the tight end position that we have in the league right now. Runs really tight routes. You know, I'm sure I've heard some Bears fans here in Chicago say, well, that might have been a pass interference against Zach Ertz on that play. I actually thought it was fine. I thought it was just more incidental than anything else. But I feel like when Zach Ertz is given space, we thought Deshaun Jackson would be another deep threat to bring back, spread the field a little bit more. That's when Darren Sproles is at his best. So, again, I thought there was a good level of optimism, but all the stuff that you just said, and I just got to look at the injury report a little while ago as well. To not have some of these threats obviously hurts you, and that scares me. As somebody who knows when there's a healthy Eagles team, it makes the league better, frankly. I was thinking about this the other day. We were talking actually with Coach Del Rio about it on Sunday night when we were in Pittsburgh. It just feels like when the Eagles are involved, when they're in the mix, when they're battling for a playoff spot, it just feels like the league has a little bit of a better feel. So that's a lot of disappointment that you and I are kind of listening to and walking through right now with all the injury issues.
Yeah, but a lot of people feel like, Adam, that injuries are required for the Philadelphia Eagles to have success. They need that underdog story. When they're at full strength, forget about it. So maybe this is what they need, as crazy as that sounds. But the Patriots, on the other hand, who the heck are they? Because you look at their schedule and we don't know how good they are, or maybe we do, but you look at the opponents and you say, okay, they haven't really played anyone for the most part. So I think there's some people out there in the back of their head going, well, maybe they're not the same old Patriots that we're used to seeing. Is that a ridiculous statement to make?
I don't think so. I think you take away that week one performance, which a lot of us walked away thinking, wow, this is an elite level defense. We weren't really sure of what Miami was in week two, and obviously we saw the terrible stretch that Miami went through. We weren't positive after one game. We were a little bit more sure after two. We know what the Jets are. Bills have been up and down. We know what kind of train wreck the Redskins have been this season. Inconsistencies with the Giants, as you guys know about. So I agree with you guys until really running into the offensive buzzsaw that is Lamar Jackson right now. This defense looked near untouchable. Again, we'll see what happens on Sunday with all these Philly injury issues, but New England still has Philadelphia, Dallas. I think the Chiefs are coming up at home, if I'm not mistaken. I think Houston's on the schedule. So there's this big stretch coming up right now, and I'm not saying anybody in the AFC East is really going to contend with New England just because they got off to such a great start. They're pretty much primed to win the AFC East again. But I just feel like this might be the stretch where we're going to find out what Tom Brady's made of. Tom Brady, his numbers haven't been eye-popping, and not that we should expect them to be from a 42-year-old, but what scares me is kind of the more fundamental stuff, the more mechanical stuff, something he prides himself on. There's a lot more off-target throws this year than I think we saw a year ago, than definitely we saw 2 years ago when he was so good in 2017 in the MVP year. So I think New England definitely has some concerns, but is it really going to affect them making the playoffs? I don't really think so, even with the tough stretch coming up.
Adam, I'm wondering, based on what you saw last game, the way the Eagles dominated the Bears' offensive line, got a lot of pressure on Trubisky, the Patriots have similar offensive line issues. Do you see this game being kind of maybe back and forth, like a low-scoring neck-and-neck game as opposed to the Super Bowl, which was the high-scoring neck-and-neck game?
I think I was thinking the same along those lines, man. I was kind of taking a look at one of the matchups that I really like for Philadelphia on the interior. That right guard spot for the Bears was a little bit weak, but I thought Philadelphia did a nice job of exposing it. That's been a little bit of a weak spot on the interior this year. And I know Ted Karras is a good player. They used a 6th-round pick on him at center, but, not having David Andrews, a veteran guy up front, that's hurt them a little bit. Having the rotation at left tackle with the shuffling at guard and tackle over the course of this really last 2-year stretch for New England. Before we always talked about Nate Solder and that offensive line being intact week after week after week. And now you just feel like there's a lot more of an injury bug on that front line. I think Philadelphia's got a real opportunity to dominate. I love what I saw on a couple of snaps, in particular on 3rd down from Derek Barnett last game. I think Tim Jernigan, having him back to plug up the middle, that's only going to help, especially with how we saw Philadelphia expose the interior of the Bears. I think that can happen against New England. And I don't know what the word is with you guys. I really like Nate Gerry. I saw a lot of him in Nebraska playing safety and linebacker. What I saw in a limited amount, and I don't know what you guys see on a week-to-week basis. You guys certainly know more than I do. Impressed with the type of game he plays.
Yeah, we see he can cover a little bit, but when you line it up and run right at him, we see bad things. But that's he's not supposed to be on the field in those situations, really.
Well, again, like I said, he played a lot more safety at Nebraska,
right.
So I feel like when he's got to cover or step up in the box, I think he's got ability to do those things. But I agree with you in run coverage and run support. Might not be the guy that you want to lean on.
Yeah, Adam Amin will have the call for Eagles Patriots for the national broadcast on ESPN Radio. And I guess, Adam, you call games all over the country. I got to get your thoughts on what you saw last night. And if you're calling that game and that's breaking out there, the reaction would be probably priceless because, I just couldn't imagine seeing that live, calling an actual game in that capacity.
I've never been behind the mic for like a Malice in the Palace situation, but I've been behind the mic for a few fracases on football fields or basketball courts, NBA games, and things of that nature. So we've seen enough of this to know that, this is a volatile atmosphere, right? These athletic contests with a lot at stake, a lot of money on the line, a lot of pride on the line, all that good stuff. It really seems to point towards a volatile situation week in and week out. That's what we saw. The chippiness. I can't start I feel a little bit uncomfortable stepping into the legalities of what we saw last night, but I think the NFL actually got it right suspension-wise. I think Myles Garrett should be done indefinitely. I think certainly the rest of the season. Appreciate the without pay. I'm fine with just a suspension for Pouncey, even though he did what any good teammate would do, standing up for your quarterback in that spot. Ogunjobi, I think, deserve what he got as well. Surprised that it kind of went fluidly this way and as cleanly as it did, but you can't have this. It's very disappointing to see, and you don't want to fetishize it, especially if you're calling it. You don't want it to be a good thing that something like this happens. This is a potentially dangerous situation.
Good stuff, Adam Amin. He'll be on the call. Jack Del Rio, Sal Palantonio, Sunday, 4:25, Eagles, Patriots. And, of course, he appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Adam, we appreciate you coming back on.
Anytime, boys. Appreciate you.